So, so I like to do my research when whenever I'm talking to somebody. I try to do as much research as I can, and I've known, because we've never actually met face to face at all.
Not yet, not physical.
So we've never.
What
met
if I'm a robot,
face.
bro? What if I'm just a digital, fake, sentient, Cyberdyne construct?
Then that is the greatest gift ever to humanity. Is the way I see it. You are like the greatest gift of all time. Is the way I see it. But no, because I listened to some of the stuff you've done in the past with Show Pal Show and all that stuff, and hearing your stories that you've shared with amongst the friends here. So, but then one thing I always caught on was your field in acting, your actual work. So I was like, what has Pat done that I can see, that I could come across and ask him about? So I just typed your name on YouTube, and lo and behold, there's a shit ton of stuff with you on YouTube, some of which is on your own personal channel.
Yeah.
But I never looked into it. So when I came across it, I was like, okay, I got to look into this stuff. So I came across.
So old though, man. It's so terrible. I got to take that shit down. Can't have people pulling up that old shit.
Oh my God, I can't. I lost the list. I had the list right here. I'm gonna have to go off memory here, but so no I came across.
That's embarrassing.
But when I'm laughing, please understand, I'm not doing to insult you, but
it's all love.
The one that I came across that had me rolling last night, I'm surprised I didn't wake up my wife because I was laughing hard, was was it something gorilla, setting free the gorilla, something like that?
Oh my God. Okay. That's a deep cut right there. That was part of a film challenge that I did with some college students.
I was watching that, and that shit had me rolling because I didn't know what to think of it. Because honestly, I'll be honest with you, I really didn't understand what was going on, and I was hoping.
Same.
Okay. So you weren't the only one. So I was watching it, and I just started laughing so hard because I was like, "This can't be real," And then when you finally did take off the monkey, the gorilla head off, I was like, "So they all knew he was wearing the suit?" Because that's what happened at the end when the bard is like, "Why is Pat wearing the suit?" Or what? I think your character's name was Pat, right?
I can't remember, bro.
Okay,
to be honest with you, but I know the theme behind it was I'm a guy that I grew up. I guess my parents were into like this whole. They were like explorers, like they were Dora the Explorers or some shit. Like, that's what they did. And then like I was into that as a kid, and I always been into like wearing a monkey costume or something like that. And then I think my parents died. It was so deadpan too. It was supposed to be like Office Space or not Office Space,
right?
But like
I got that vibe
with a guy. Yeah, where like that's just him. That's just what he does.
Right.
And I couldn't.
And you were married too in that little short film.
Yeah.
Too. And I was like, your wife?
I did have a wife.
Yeah.
And she put up with it, but it was because that was my way of grieving, I guess.
Okay.
Like there was a seriousness to it. But you play it up for comedy. Like
right.
Until he finally, I guess because it ended up at a funeral from what I recall.
Yeah, it did.
And that's where I finally,
took it off.
That's when I need to my parents are dead.
Yeah.
It's time to move on, go forward. Yeah, it was a college student project at George Mason University,
right?
GMU.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
We shot it all around GMU and the outskirts of Fairfax.
Oh yeah,
and
some of the
it was just a kind of a cute project. It was for Apple. Apple sponsored it, and it was like an Apple film challenge. Really? And those kids went rather far with it, and it was fun to do. I was like, hey, college students, they're looking for an actor. I had some other friends that did student films there, and they reached out to me, and I was like, let's fucking do it. I'm wearing a gorilla mask. I get to be kind of me, but in a gorilla costume.
Like so
fucking let's do it. We're at a bar, and I was like, this sounds hilarious. But it's deadpan. They're playing it up real, and I'm just like in a fucking gorilla costume in a suit. I was like, okay.
I started laughing so hard, and I was like, I got to check out some more of the stuff you have done there. And it's all on your channel, as I mentioned before. So I looked into the next one, which was 420. No, Halloween 420.
Yeah.
Man, okay, I'm not going to lie to you, dude. There's a part of me that wondered, there had to have been a point while you were waiting in between the takes, and you had that thing on, the wrap, the bubble wrap. And I was just like,
I'm bubble wrap boy.
Right. It's exactly. and the way you played it, I was like, there's got to be a part of him that in the middle of the scenes, he's like, God damn, what the fuck am I doing right now?
Yo, that was another fun that was actually the National Film Challenge on that one.
Okay.
I did a lot of student films. When you're like in between scenes and you're waiting stuff and you want to keep your acting to me is a muscle, and you need to work it. And so student films is kind of like, I would say, a great gateway for any young burgeoning actor. Do student films, build up your resume, build up your credits, and just work that acting muscle. And so that one was the National Film Challenge. I had competed with these guys with I don't know if you've ever heard of the 48-hour film festival.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
And so like and part of that is to make a film in 48 hours. And this National Film Challenge was kind of the same deal. Yeah, like when you submit to be a part of this like film challenge, you get like a plot device, a character name, like a specific character, like, and you have to have those like certain 5 elements in whatever script. It could be a drama, it could be a comedy, but you have to work under those guidelines and make that out of a film, make a film from top to tails in less than 48 hours after you've given these 5 pieces. And so, yeah, that was a part of this National Film Challenge where it's 4:20 on my man's phone, and we're already high. So we're like, you know, what do you do when you're high? You fucking get the munchies, and it's not even Halloween, but we're like, let's go trick or treating, and so that's where the Halloween 420 comes from.
Right.
And we actually, once we had done that concept and we created that particular short film for that challenge, we're like, dude, we need to do holidays with all of us, but like Valentine's Day 420, Christmas 420.
So that would be like a sequel.
It never came about, huh?
Would have been like a sequel.
Yeah, several sequels, actually, several short films. And I'm friends with Francis Abbey. He's been on the Show Pal Show since then. Since that, because that was like over 10
I remember
years
that show.
ago.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, he's been on. The other gentleman, I think his name was Johnny Fortune. He was a comedian back in the day. I haven't seen him really since that project, so I hope he's well and doing great. But he was hilarious. Just the 3 of us really clicked, and we played it up. And I was just the super dumb guy. And but I couldn't believe when I came to set that day, because again, like, I was just an actor. I wasn't one of the writers, producers as part of the film challenge. When I came to set, they had that bubble wrap crown, everything already pre-made for my bubble wrap armor.
So they didn't do any fittings for you?
Nah. Well, they know like my size, because the other actors I'd worked with before in the cast. So they kind of knew my size, because I was actually working, I think, on another film challenge. I was an actor in another film that was competing in the same challenge. And so, you know, I was going from set to set, and they had everything lined up for me, but it was kind of hilarious. And I'm like, boom, here's your lines, and just got to be stupid, bro. Like, no, you give me a chance to just be stupid.
No, but it's a fun movie, though. I mean, it's a fun little short film, but I mean, there's a part of me that was really like, oh my god, how did he actually feel with it? Because I always here's what I bring that up, is because I've heard from a lot of good actors that say, a lot of people get the impression that you're putting on something and it makes you, and you look good on camera and you feel, you're in the moment. But then there are moments where they say you just sometimes feel like you're the biggest fool in the world because you have this thing on. And then that moment right there, when I saw you wear that, I was like, I wonder what went through his mind when he saw that. So, but again, I wasn't trying to I'm not saying that to be insulting at all.
No worries at all, bro. You can't take life seriously. Yeah. And because most times as an actor, for me personally, like if you look at my IMDb, I worked on The Wire. I worked on America's Most Wanted. Yeah. I've done a lot of short films where I'm a thug. And then I also, do security industrials for the government where I'm in very serious roles. So to be stupid, to be quote unquote dumb, you know what I'm saying? And just let my hair down is, for me, where I can really have fun and, to me, in a way, act. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Be outside of my normal self. Right. And that's why we do it as actors. You know what I'm saying? We're always kind of pigeonholed and put into these boxes to bust out of that label and just have fun. Yeah. I adore it. So that was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah. It definitely was an enjoyable film. But then I came across the next one, which was The Stream, The Cave, Jim and Dave.
Another film competition.
Okay.
Most of those are competitions. Yeah.
So, and this was like, when I saw it, I was like, damn, Patrick is shirtless. Wow. So you took off your shirt, and I was like, yeah. And I was saying, like, God damn, it must have been so cold that moment, because
it was cold.
Yeah.
It was cold. That was a cold shoot.
Yeah.
And that was shot in the woods where they filmed Blair Witch. because
Well, in
the
Maryland,
actual
right?
some of the crew, yeah, in Maryland, like out by Fredericksburg, I think.
Yeah, I know where
Yeah.
that's at. Well, I've been there before.
Yeah, because some of those guys they had worked on Blair Witch, the crew behind that. Yeah, that was an interesting, deep kind of
Oh,
script.
you
They
mean Frederick,
allowed me
Maryland?
to.
'Cause Fredericksburg's in Virginia. That's not far
Oh,
from
I'm
where you
sorry,
are.
Frederick.
Yeah,
Frederick.
yeah.
Yeah, Frederick. Yeah, Frederick, Hagerstown area.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that's where they shot that. Yeah, that was interesting. Deep cut. Get to here's my friend who's dying.
Mhm.
Would you kill your friend if he asked you to? And I that's what really intrigued me about it. And got to be very emotional with
Yeah.
that. Um,
So you're trying more of your dramatic chops in this, but that's what I picked up on the
yeah,
film, because it started off pretty
yeah.
funny though, because you guys were busting jokes, especially you, making I forgot what you said, but yeah, I thought some of the jokes you were pointing out were pretty good, and then afterwards it just like shifted once you guys went into
It's
the woods.
yeah, it's part of the shift there to
Yeah,
just like you get a camaraderie between two best friends,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden here's this, because they both know what they're doing, and so like I'm trying to make it lighthearted and make him be positive and not get out of this, but then yet still he makes me do this thing that I don't want to do,
yeah,
and because he's suffering.
yeah.
So that was what really drew me to that. Jim and Dave, the streaming, it was a perfect title, I think, piece. I don't recall how far we went in the competition on that, but that was a lot of fun. That was
How long did it take to shoot that? Because you guys were out in the woods for, I would imagine, a good while, right?
a day.
Oh,
I
it took
think
the
that
whole
was
day.
a day or 2 days.
Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. We shot the car scenes, it took a day, and then I had to come back. Yeah, I want to say it was at least 2 days, maybe 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because they had to rig up the car to do all
Yeah.
the car scenes,
Get all the
and
angles you could
then
need.
we had the interiors,
Mhm.
exteriors, interiors, and then and then on location out in the woods to shoot the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then actually the first one I came across was I think it was called The Mexican.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, my character was the Mexican, the quote
Right.
unquote Mexican.
Right.
The film was called Amends to My Life, which was an
Yeah, yeah.
autobiographical comedy from this young filmmaker out in Winchester. Winchester, yeah, that was
Yep,
shot
I
out
know.
in Winchester,
I've been out there
Virginia.
before.
Yeah,
So so is that like what that little snippet that I saw on the channel, was that just a piece
that was just my scene from
okay.
that.
That was the
Yeah,
only thing you did?
I believe so. I think that was the only scene in that film that I
Because
was in.
it reminded me of the time that I've heard you say before, because I know you and I think had a conversation about this in the past, where you were talking about how you would get roles for not just Asian roles, but you get Latino roles too. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was watching, I was like, oh, okay, I see it. I mean, I've I knew from what you're describing to me, but now actually seeing that reel, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And I don't mean that in a negative light too. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm watching it and I'm thinking like, yeah, because it crossed my mind too, where we hear countless stories of people who aren't of that ethnicity or aren't from that country, and they're playing the
Yeah,
parts of these characters.
yeah,
But at the same time, I always wondered too, like, well, I mean, you have to understand the circumstances too. What happens if that was the only guy they could get that was
yeah,
closest to what they need?
yeah.
And one could argue too that, well, then change the character's background. Yes, you can do that, but
Mhm.
if the story is focusing on that aspect of a character and that background is integral to the part, you do
Mhm.
what you can, or you have to make some compromises at some point. But
Yeah, I actually auditioned for that role.
really,
Yeah, that one I had to go and audition for, and then yeah, it was called The Mexican, and I was like, okay, I can do that. I just it's again because me and my activism and just in
yeah,
general and just how the world is changing as actors and as people, and how
yeah,
we conduct ourselves, and I cringed on it to a degree because I played a quote unquote stereotype in a
yeah,
way.
yeah. It was
Um,
yeah,
but then also at the same time, it's acting. We're acting a role.
yeah,
It wasn't. I didn't write the scripts. Although the guy behind it is very. I wouldn't say he has a racist bone in his body, but I just know he's very open and just I don't he's was just putting things together from his past,
mhm,
and what he grew up around, and so that was an encounter that he thought was comedic, and I thought, I could play it sufficiently. But at
Yeah,
the same time, it's a matter of perspective. I don't want people to
Right.
feel, you know what I'm saying?
Well, because you can take that. I mean, I certainly didn't take it that way at all. For me, where I was
Yeah.
offended, it was not that. I never felt that way at
Yeah.
all because I know who
But that's
you
my
are.
concern as an
Right,
actor,
right. Because I know who you are. I've interacted with you plenty of times, knowing that that's not how you are in real life. But there was when I watched that scene, it's so funny how the conversation from like laughing at you in a monkey suit. Here we are now with playing a Mexican. So, but the thing is that when I saw that scene, it you can't I really can't get a full idea of what the scene, how that setup came to be, because it's kind of taken out of context. Because
Yeah.
on just by looking at that scene alone, it can be looked at, well, he's just being a stereotypical Mexican. Yeah, but I think there's actually more to the story than that. um and honestly, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I don't know if that was like meant to be like a longer short film, or I don't know.
It's a full length feature, but it's
Okay.
just a snippet from that I made my appearance, I believe. Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
there was anything more than, it's been so long. That film is way back.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, well, yeah,
but
you definitely looked a
it was
lot
it was
younger
an
then.
interesting experience, and another gig, and of lining
Yeah.
up gigs as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because the most of my stuff you can't really see because I've done it for the government,
yeah, I
and they're
remember.
security industrials, and you have to have a security clearance to see it.
Yeah.
So that's also why I'm getting back into it. So I have more of a reel to show people
Oh,
of what
okay.
I can do.
Well,
Yeah.
so so watching that, and I wanted to bring up about your activism too, because obviously now the ways things have escalated for not just with Black Lives Matters, now the Asian American community here in this country. um when you're going through what you're going through right now, and then me bringing up your past, your work, and having that being brought up there. I mean, you mentioned that you kind of cringe when you think about it, but at that time, though, what was your thought process? I mean, I know you're just auditioning for a part, but what was your thought process at that time? Auditioning for a part, you being not being Latino, but playing a Latino, but out of context, it looks like a stereotypical one at that. So, when you're going through that audition process, what was going through your head at that time?
Um, Good question. I like that. I think at the time I didn't see it as offensive as I
Right.
do now.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I didn't find it as offensive as I do now. I guess I'm just a lot more careful because I have, I think at that time building up my reel, just getting more
Right.
acting opportunities. I think again, I simply looked at it as the craft of acting. The character's Mexican. Why can't I play Mexican? Because everybody else plays the other roles. As
Yeah.
Asian actors, we rarely get it, so we're gonna go hard. Like
Yeah.
I would go, even if it said white, I'll go for that role. If it said black, I'd go for that role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I went for every role, despite the call was for a specific type of actor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I said, fuck it. Let me, if they hire me, they hire me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because there's not going to be an opportunity if I only waited for Asian roles, I'd be waiting till, forever.
Right.
So at that time, that was just my mindset. But now, having been in it as long as I have, it's just, I hope I didn't offend anybody, even though that's what the script called for. I played my role, and I wanted the opportunity, and that's how I felt. So at that time, yeah, it was purely I want a gig, I want another role. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep building up this list of talents and projects, so that way I can show I'm a working actor, and this is my range.
Yeah.
That I can do.
Well, so when I look at roles now from people that have started, way in the past, even like minorities, I look at like Hispanics, for example. I'm going to use that
Yeah.
because, and I'm, I think just about every community can relate to this here too. I'm not an actor by any means, of course, but I've heard enough stories where people audition for roles, and unless you look a certain way, like if an Hispanic person looks white, you can get away with anything, right? It is very rare you get an opportunity as an Hispanic to do different type of roles, like and what is it, multiracial, but different ethnicities, if you will. Like
Mhm.
Andy Garcia is a good example of that.
Very
He's
true.
Cuban, but he
Yeah.
played an Italian in The Godfather. And then he also did another movie, which I thought was a great film, called City Island. And he played an Italian in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have parts like that where actors who can look the part and they are not of that ethnicity. But some people don't even have a problem with it, because as long as they do the job well, then
Exactly.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you take that and you'll talk like, I want to bring this to your attention. I want to know how you feel about this, because I've always wanted to have this conversation with somebody with an Asian background. I forgot what movie this was. I didn't do my research that well before we started, but it was a movie that dealt with I think like a historical Asian person or something of that sort. And the studio had hired a white director. Maybe you might remember the story, but an Asian director, a female, I forgot her name, had said, "That's unfair. You hired a white man to direct an Asian story. Why not hire an Asian person for the part?" But then I heard an argument, which I'm going to say is actually a valid one for these reasons. Someone had pointed out, well, you can make that argument, and I agree with that argument. But the point is that who can tell the story effectively? If you think about a good director, think of Ang Lee. He directed Brokeback Mountain. He's not gay. He's not from the Midwest, and he's Asian. And you're dealing with a story of two men who are gay from the Midwest or the South, and it's a gay love story. But none of that is a part of this man's background. But he happened to tell a very effective story, directed it very well, and he won an Oscar for that. And he's a minority. So I understand that argument, and I could agree with it, and I do agree to a point. But with the way things are going right now, I feel like more stories like this need to be told, but it's probably best to tell it through the eyes of the people that lived through that can tell an effective story if given the opportunity. In that particular case, from the story that I heard, and I wish I did my research before I started talking about this, that this is probably an opportunity to tell that story with someone who can really share a compelling story, but through the eyes of someone who's lived in that culture, who is a part of that culture. Why not give them the opportunity? So, having explained that, I don't know how you feel about it now with the argument that was presented from hearing, well, Ang Lee's not a gay white man from the Midwest, but he directed that story.
I think part of the problem so like in regards to Ang Lee, I definitely think he could have done that because he's different. If you're gay, you're different. Right. So there's a connection there that can be found, right, and how he was able to pull it off. I think the problem that, as that you're saying, I don't recall the story completely. I think I've heard similar type of situations before. I think with this particular situation with an Asian story film, but with a white director, because we live in a white dominated society that always gets to tell their stories, that's just the problem, and while they may be competent of it, I don't think they truly have that connection as much as a person of color would know our story. There's a difference there. They could be artistic and as amazing as they can be. I don't fault them that. And I just think that's just part of the problem. I think there's amazing allies that want to do that. But at the end of the day, and I applaud that. I just don't think we're there yet as a society.
No. Well, there's a movie that I truly do love. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's Blood In, Blood Out. You ever heard of that film?
Oh, that's a classic, dog. I love that film.
I love that movie too.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I need to watch that again, man.
That's a great movie.
And my man, what's his name? The one of the brothers that's still acting.
Benjamin Bratt.
Benjamin Bratt. That brother. Good genes like a mug. Yeah. He still looks the same. He's a sexy dude. He's a good looking guy, man. And he still looks the same from that film, which was very early on to now. He hasn't changed.
He's a really good actor, though. I'm surprised.
Fantastic actor.
I'm surprised we don't really see him in a lot of roles. I mean, I thought he was great in Law and Order, but the point I'm getting at with that movie was that, okay, so this is a situation where the director is Taylor Hackford. He's white. All right. He's directed Ray with Jamie Foxx, and he's also directed what was the other one he did? I think it wasn't Office. Was it Office and Gentlemen? It doesn't matter. The point I'm getting at is that he directed several movies that we all know and love, but this film in particular, I found it strange at that time when I first saw it. I remember because I have the same DVD that I bought when I first saw it. I was surprised that a white guy is directing such a heavily cultured Chicano story. And I was like, why is this dude telling the story? But then I learned about his background. Yeah, he is born, in America, and he does come from a white family, but he grew up with a lot of Latinos. And he went to, I believe he joined the Peace Corps too, if I'm not mistaken, where he lived in Central America for a while, and he speaks Spanish. So he was heavily invested in that culture. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I did like about him, which I thought was very important, which is why this is where I believe you need to, if you're smart, you'll know where your limitations may be, or maybe your weaknesses are, and you need to give someone else their strength to share that voice. He went to Jimmy Santiago, who was a former prisoner and now is a poet, and he said, I need you to write a script for me. If it's a story that I want to tell, you can tell that story. I need your voice, for us to tell this story. He was like, right on, I'll do it. So, long story short, he made the film, and it's a great movie. Didn't get the recognition that I think it deserved at that time, but maybe that film was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is that in that situation, I can see I would say the exception to the rule, because he knew the culture. He's like, I've lived in that culture. I know what that's like. I've been around. I have a lot of friends who are Hispanic, and I know the language. I speak it.
Yeah.
And and even he knew when he had Benjamin Bratt audition for the part of Miklo. He was like, that's me, but Benjamin looks Hispanic, even though he has a white father. He looks Indian.
Yeah.
And then you bring a guy like Damien Chapa, who has Mexican descent, but he looks mostly white. He could pass as the guy, the story that needs to be told. In that regard, I think he would handle that beautifully, in my opinion. But see,
I'm cool with that because he did his homework. You know what I'm saying? I think
he knew that culture.
That's like you said, an exception to the rule.
Right.
But most times, it's mainstream Hollywood that controls the budgets. They're gonna throw a name person on something and be like, okay, because it's selling the film. That's where really the other issues lies with all of this is selling it to not just our market here in the US, but internationally. You have to have certain kind of names tied to things in order for it to succeed. Case in point, which you and I going to be doing a review on The Misfits. They had a lot of names on that. But I think, as you can tell, and I don't know your opinion yet, or for that review, you can throw all the money at the world, but it doesn't make it a good project. You know what I'm saying? You can give it all the gloss. You can have these names, people, but if your script isn't there, and the heart isn't there, then it's not going to be a good film.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times they wanted to have this Asian story, but you just throw this white director on it. If they don't have that kind of connection, it's not going to be done well. And so that's why there's always that argument to have that representation that knows the people, knows the culture, and or have an exception like with Blood In, Blood Out, with the guy who did his homework and respected the people.
And
there's
lived
a
in that culture
there.
for a while.
You know what I'm saying?
He invested,
And that's the issue, because or else you'll have people, and I think I'm wearing the perfect shirt for this today, because if you look at my shirt, these are who are considered Asian in Hollywood. Scarlett Johansson, I forgot who Emma was. Emma Stone, Tilda Swinton, and Matt Damon. And if you know who I'm talking about, Scarlett was in that Hawaii film that her character was supposed to be Asian.
No, that was Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. Scarlett was Ghost in the Shell.
Well, let's stop right there. So here's the thing. You brought that up. So again, I only know from what I saw, but I happened to see a video where they interviewed a bunch of Japanese people in Japan and asked, hey, what's your opinion on this white actress playing the part of this character in Ghost in the Shell? Now, granted, I haven't seen Ghost in the Shell. I've seen a lot of anime. That's one of the few I haven't seen. But I don't know I don't know the full background of that story. But their response was, it's fine. They don't have a problem with it. And that's the argument that people will use. Well, they said it's fine. Okay, but you happen to ask, let's just say they interviewed 25 people. 3 of them said, yeah, I'm fine. And that's what they may show. I'm not saying that's what they did, but you got to get the full, background of what's going on, which is why, before we started recording, I said in the beginning, I like to do my research, because if I'm talking to you and I want to know about you, I already have enough conversation with you as, what our opinions on certain matters, but your experiences from where you started and where you are now they're 2 different things. You played a Mexican, and I know how you are now. There's a part of me wondered, I wonder if he, how he felt about it at that time and how you felt about it now. And I was pretty spot on what you were going to say. I was, I think he's probably going to not be too, it was a great. No, I know what you were going to say, but that to me was important because you get the full background. But in that situation right there, you have people who don't really know the whole story. They only show you what they want you to see. That's how I sort of viewed it. to be completely honest. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And that's what hopefully we can change with as a society. We got to know there's always two sides to every story, but most times, which is sad, we're quote unquote lazy. We just accept things as face value sometimes, which there's nothing wrong with that as well, to a degree. I like to believe people are coming with good intentions most of the time.
Yeah.
But I guess with age, I've become, broken
Wiser.
by that, because, we it isn't always what it seems.
Yeah.
And which is sad. And, we can only just strive for greatness and come with love. And that's, forever the mission.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that. And, that's one of it. And I talked before about this in the past. And when I first started working with the channel, it was just, for fun. And it's still for fun for me, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it changed along the way because I saw the bigger picture for me, which was, we all come from different backgrounds, but not necessarily from different backgrounds, like as in like, we come from neighborhoods. It's more about different backgrounds of, we have Glenn, who's was a military rat, moved around a lot, and he has different experiences. You have a somewhat similar experience, but being a mixed race. I have an experience of being Latino, but I've grown up around with a lot of like guys who talking in street vernacular. I don't talk that way. I something that I've always not to say I avoided it, but it just never was something that I grew to speak with.
Yeah.
But the background is basically we all have different experiences, but essentially we all come from the same roots, which is we all have a story to tell where the differences of us as individuals stick out one way or another. I come from a background where people don't love that. I don't come from film lovers. I'm the only guy in my family that does that loves that stuff. And I can speak all day, all night about that. Everyone else is more casual about it and don't give two shits about it.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, you have a background with your family, and then you've grown into loving the film aspect of it, and then got into the entertainment industry, and then you're doing other things as well too to help the channel grow. And I think since we've started to actually make that happen, we have seen some growth along the way, because now we can see who's actually investing, who's not. And at the same time, the bigger picture for me is that it comes from the voices of the people that have something to say, and we have something to say about something that we know is hopefully will strike an accord with other people, but have fun with it at the same time.
Exactly.
I know that this is not, we're not like a political channel, but, I don't think we're afraid to talk politics if need be. This is why I chose to do this platform, for me to be able to do this, because, it's one thing to talk about films all day, every day, but, it's nice to, venture out with people who are in the industry and get your thoughts on that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and it helps you connect even more. And then I think if people have that understanding behind you, the personality that's doing these reviews, and they'll just connect more. I think that's what's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah.
Like I definitely, you can tell when somebody knows the content and the material, and if they have a passion for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw, to give you some flowers real quick, when I saw when you first started, hanging out and doing this stuff with us, man, and that you just love it. And that's what it takes, because, I love it. And, whether I get paid or not, it's what I'd be doing anyways.
Right.
And now I just have, the two of us, we now have the luxury of, in a way, getting advanced screeners and stuff, and the ability to talk to the people behind it. That just, to me, just increases that experience that I would already be doing on my own, and if we can get paid more along the way, which we want you guys to do, so subscribe, help us build our content. That would be even better. But at the end of the day, if I can talk with my boys, my friends like yourself, man, about things I enjoy, fuck yeah. Excuse my language. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. Cuss, man. Fuck it. Let's just go for it now. No, so you know what? And so let's kind of shift topics real quick. So it dawned on me a while back, and I don't mean to put this on myself, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You have watched some of my videos, because before I would send you the videos, upload it, and you take care of it.
Yeah.
And so I haven't seen some of my older videos in quite some time, but some of the ones I did come across, I'm like, God, I was fucking terrible.
I know, right? It can be cringe a little bit, right?
Like, oh my God,
bro,
what the fuck?
All the time.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
So I'm curious though now, when you first, and I want you to be completely honest, the first time you actually sat down and watched one of the first reviews, from start to finish, what did you think?
I saw a lot. I saw promise. I saw a dude who was trying really hard, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, you were trying hard to put your best foot forward. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so to me, that spark of promise of at least trying and not, just trying to, there was actually heart there. You can heart. I don't know if you've seen it by watching other people or whatever yet, but as long as you can tell when somebody really wants to do something and wants to put their best foot forward. You weren't just trying to half-ass it, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what a lot of people do, to be honest. And I can tell that personally. And so you had your stumbling blocks. And to me, if I see a heart there, then that just means, and this is like a key thing that I tell you, especially with you now branching off with this show, You're So Cool, of doing interviews. The more reps you do, the more interviews you do, the more time you put in, the better you'll get. And the more polished you'll be. I feel I'm still on that journey, although I do have some confidence in myself now with the interviews that I've conducted. I still feel though I have a lot more to grow. If you stop learning, then I think that's where you fail. You always have to be open and listening to make yourself better. And I saw promise in you, to be honest with you, dude.
Okay.
You were rough around the edges, but I know I was rough. We're all rough around the edges because we're trying to figure it out. Right. We're trying to understand and do the best job we can, because if we're granted an opportunity, to do something like that, you just try, and then you just go at it again and keep on going until you improve, as long as somebody's willing to give you that chance. And I definitely just saw the love in you, and I appreciated that because you were all about that, to express your love for for what it was that you love. And as long as I could provide that opportunity, I was ready to give it to you. And
well, I've already said it to you on more than one occasion. I'm very grateful for that. I mean, of course, I got to give a shout out to Steve, because he was the one that brought me in this year. Because if it wasn't for him, I don't know, who knows what my life would have been at this point. But this was definitely a good outlet for me, because actually I've grown a lot since I've done a lot of this. I've learned a lot about myself, what my strengths and weaknesses were, what I need to work on, and so on. And you're amazing. You've gotten a lot, and I know the sky's the limit, even more so, dude. I love it. You're amazing, dude. Well, I appreciate that, but but again, it takes more. This is where I understand that, now I wouldn't say being dependent, but more like knowing that you have the support that we need to make this happen. Of course, I always got your back when it comes to what you do. I've always reached out to you. Yo, you've done fucking amazing in this shit, because you do. When the interviews you've done, that's one of the biggest things I've taken away from you, is that you do a really good job with the interviews. I am a fan of the show, Pal Show. Like, I really, really am a genuine fan. And every time I got my notifications on for the videos you upload, I'm watching it right now if I can. But I've watched things because there's a lot that I can learn from that as well too. But it gives me something to work with, because then if people say, well, what other things have you guys do? I was like, well, check out Show Pal Show. My boy Pat, he's got his own show right now. It's awesome. He talks to people of Filipino background. He's got something to say about that. But they're also bringing up an important conversation. They're also having fun too. You get to learn about the person. He has his way of doing things because it works for him. I got my way of ways of doing things, which I'm still learning, but I figured out what works for me. When we started the show, hey, what's going on? We're back here. I don't.
It wouldn't be good if we were all the same cookie cutter, type person.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of the world, and that's what I love about you, man. You're a good difference. I think you're so distinct, and like I said, you can see the heart, but you're so distinctly yourself, which I love, and I want you to stay you. And then like Glenn and how he does himself with Blur Dad podcast, I think, and I see the brilliance in him as well. That's why I love the trio of us, and I can't wait to expand even more with more people, and as we've been talking and discussing, to hopefully down the line, just I see greatness. I can't wait to just do it with people that share the same love and passion, and I just For more. I'm ready for us to take on the world, brother.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm excited for that stuff too. And yeah, I always I've always imagined that, you know, what the things we can do to expand, you know, just be able to, you know, travel and visit, you know, but you know, there's a bigger picture that I think of, but it's all really about what, you know, we love what we do.
Yeah.
And hopefully when things start to clear up a little bit more, we'll have the opportunity to make those trips.
Hell yeah.
And finally get to meet face to face.
Fuck yeah. You got to come up here, bro. And
then,
I got to head down there.
Instead of getting those virtual hugs now, we can actually do legit.
Most def, bro. Dap it up, hugs, all the love, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
man. Can't wait.
But yeah, so I know we're running low on time here, but I wanted to ask you go one more thing here with you before you head out, which is, so you know, I wanted to ask you about your experiences on sets, right? Because you've been on quite a few sets, and you know, I know there's certain things that you've come across, you've seen. I'm a sucker for those type of stories, you know, of like what you've seen. You know, obviously you don't have to name names, but I'm a sucker for them because I like to hear what someone has experienced, what they've seen on set, and how that affected them, and then where they've come through their life, you know, seeing that and seeing more of that throughout the years. So is there anything that you are able to share or willing to share, for that matter, where you've seen something like, God, this is fucked up, or that is fucking amazing. I can't believe I just saw what I just saw right there. I'm going to take this wherever I go. Like, is there anything like that you have experienced or you can share here?
I'm trying to think of the bad. I have a lot of positives. I have a lot of great memories of being on set. And whether they have been small little indie films that I've done, short films, big feature, big budget Hollywood films, to industrial training films that I've managed myself. I have a lot of great memories of just all these cats, excuse me, that's showing my age. I like calling people cats, you know, my peoples, my squad, just working together to create a piece of art. You know, to me, that's what I consider it. We're trying to create a piece of art.
But you don't have like one that comes to mind right now that you can think, you know what, that's the one that I like use as like as an example.
A benchmark?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
The only thing that's coming to my mind right now, because of just, I guess, the cool factor of it, because I'm a geek and you see all this Marvel stuff behind me. I worked on the Winter Soldier, but it wasn't called Winter Soldier at the time. It was called Freezer Burn.
Yep.
Because we had all signed NDAs, and initially I was supposed to be the stand-in for the character of Agent Sitwell, Jasper Sitwell, played by Maximiliano.
Hernandez, right?
Hernandez, yes.
I saw him one time actually.
Because at the time I had a bald head. Both myself and a friend of mine who actually did play the stand-in, Joey Cabrera, a Filipino cat. The two of us were brought in. Joey got it. I also think that was because of scheduling, and then I think he fit the suit or whatever more. But he was the stand-in for Jasper, and I essentially became a SHIELD agent that was around the scene. And this was the one where Stilwell's coming out. He's talking to Gary Shandling, and then Anthony Mackie's sitting over in the corner watching these events as they're, you know, they get that classic line, "I am Hydra," or whatever, and that was a huge thing. Hail Hydra, and that was a big reveal. But what was great on that set that I'll just have classic memories on is I was sitting in by a production where they were watching the take. I was sitting next to Kevin Feige, and then Kevin was being shown. I was like right 2 seats by him. It was carting it off for the producers, but we could mingle over there because I was part of the SAG union after actors, and they allowed, you know, and especially if you know people, I knew people. And so I was there, and then Kevin received the character designs for what would be Anthony's Falcon costume, which was very military at that point, and it was based off of the Ultimate Marvel Universe designs. But I saw
costume designs were based off of that, weren't they?
I'm sorry?
Weren't a lot of those costumes initially, weren't they mostly based off those Ultimate Universe
yes,
versions?
Yeah. So it was very green camo, but they did have some that were of color, of like the traditional Falcon costumes at that time. And I've still yet to see them shown, but I saw them on set, that they were kind of thinking that way even way back then. And then so that was just an amazing experience because I was a geek. I'm a Marvel nerd. So here I am seeing Kevin see the costumes for the first time. Anthony was brought over, and then talking to Anthony Mackie for a little bit before he's our new captain. Just all of that was just a geek fest for me. Well, really, to be honest, any of the Marvel sets I've been on, and I was in the scenes where Cap's house was at, just a bunch of different stuff. When they did the classic thing on your left, I was in the scene by the reflecting pool, over down by on the just when Scarlett Johansson pulls up to Anthony and Chris.
Out by the Capitol.
Run. Yeah, over by the Capitol. I was in those scenes. Yeah, so it was just cool to be on a Marvel set like that because I'm such a Marvel geek. So those are the immediates coming to mind because those are ones I've always been asked about. I think that's also what makes those stand out is because everybody's Marvel stands. Everybody and they want to know what it was like working on those sets. And so because that's such a big Marvel film, it sticks out because that's what I get asked mostly.
Okay.
What was it like working on the Winter Soldier?
I didn't even know that. I mean, actually, I take that back. I did know that, but I forgotten about it because I looked through your IMDb and I was like, oh shit, he worked in the Winter Soldier. And I was like, oh.
But yeah, I was in the back of a truck with Stephen Colbert. That was an amazing set. I fucking loved the Daily Show or the Colbert Report, and I played a quote unquote immigrant farm worker. Jumped in I was in a back of a Ford pickup with 2 other actors, and the rest were actual immigrant farm workers pulling up to the Capitol as Colbert. We're basically simulating him going to the Capitol because he actually went to go testify and speak, to the House, about those concerns at that time. But I played a immigrant farm worker in the back with Steve Colbert, and he was just a good guy. And there's just a lot of those little nuggets where you can, I've been with some very Hollywood style guys that were really big in their head, really, were all about who their mystique was. And so, okay, I see who you are. But then there's people that are really down to earth, good people.
Yeah.
I'll never forget seeing Sarah Jessica Parker in real life working on, I forgot what project that was. And as well as Angelina Jolie, and then wanting to give them food because they were so deathly skinny, and
really?
Yes. In real life, seeing the two of them, like, girl, you need to eat a cheeseburger. Stop starving yourself. Like, really? Just a gust of wind is gonna blow you away. You're that skinny. and with Angelina Jolie, I was working on a film called Salt. I don't know if you recall that film.
Yeah, of course.
And I was one of the stunt drivers. She was running across traffic, and I had to avoid hitting her with my car. And so it was like, I'm afraid if I hit this bitch, she's gonna break into because she's so skinny, she wouldn't be able to handle it, and I bring up the gust of wind thing with Sarah Jessica Parker because we were working in Baltimore. It was a windy day. I'm like, this bitch is just gonna get blown away because she's so damn skinny. So I'll never forget those 2 sequences because of just there's a stigma with body image, and I just hope that they're living healthy, but it just to me looked very unhealthy, and I was concerned, as a human being that because it's truth, it's facts, A lot of women starve themselves in Hollywood, and it's a sad state of affairs.
Here's a carrot.
I'm serious, girl, go to catering. Catering's right there. Eat something. Like, yeah. And I have good memories of catering. Catering is the best.
So catering on the big sets, like one of the biggest.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'll never forget my very first experience, which helped give me the bug even more. Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls. I was one of the monks. And in high school at the time, my very first feature film I've ever worked on. But yeah, catering had every snack you could think of, every chocolate bar, just all the goodies, man. So like me and my boys, and we're all Filipino. Most of us were Filipino. Mm-hmm. We love to eat, bruh. So you leave like a buffet of food there, man. We snatching, grabbing everything.
I know.
And then when it came time to eat, when they fed us, so good. Just it was, young teen with all the food you can eat, young and hungry. Yeah. It was the best, bro.
All right, man. Well, I know you got to be heading out too, but listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me here. It means a lot. It really does. And given your busy schedule here, I reach out to you, and you're always like, man, I got the meeting to do, I got this to do, I got that to do. Like, how the fuck do you do that?
You're in between an actor's class with my Barcada group and our Something or Nothing podcast.
Yeah.
But I love you, man. I appreciate you more than you know. I really can't express it enough, man, that I'm happy that I could, provide a resource to you, and then you just take it and just run with it, and where you're self-sustaining. I don't have to do anything like I did at the beginning, but I would still do it if you needed help, because I saw the love. It takes, again, we're not paid millions of dollars to do this at all, or if anything, every now and then there's like certain things that will come through, and I'm hoping I can provide some of those opportunities for you. But at the end of the day, we both love this stuff. We have opportunities to look at stuff in advance, talk to the people behind it, and just provide this vehicle for the stuff that we would just normally do on our own. To have somebody that is down with it just as much as me is a true blessing, and I'm honored to be a friend of you. And hopefully, I can't wait for us to meet in person, but just to do this ride together, bro.
Yeah, man.
I'm really happy to have you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. So again, I'm gonna let you go so you can do your thing. But again, as always, I appreciate your time, man, and much love and respect to you. And until next time.
Thanks, bro. You're so cool. You're so cool, Rob Medina.
All right, bro. Well, you have a good one, and you take care. And